Hey everyone, Duke here, and today we're going to show you how to easily get high stat armor that allows for those triple 100 stat builds that everyone's looking for. There's quite a few new and extremely easy farms this season to go along with a few farms that have been around for a while now, and this video is going to go over all the best strategies for you to use. Before farming any armor, make sure to make use of the Ghost Shell Armorer mods. A huge trick towards getting the right stats on your armor is knowing the stats on armor split about 50-50 between the top 3 stats of mobility, resilience, and recovery, and the bottom 3 stats of discipline, intellect, and strength. Pick your top 3 most wanted stats with a max of 2 on each side of this split, as you'll never be able to get all of your stats into one side of the split. For me, the 3 most wanted stats are resilience, recovery, and discipline. From here, use the armorer mod that is on the side of the split that has only one single stat, in this case discipline. This is to give yourself the highest chance possible to get a spike in that stat and avoid the other 2 stats, while the other half of your stats have 2 of the 3 good stats to potentially roll into. Basically, you're pushing the math and RNG in your favor, which is going to make your farming that much easier to do. Now let's get into the farms, starting with legendary armor. Exotics, we will get to you in a bit. This first farm has been greatly improved and actually made twice as fast this season, which is using seasonal engrams. Doing just about any activity in the game is going to get you deep engrams, and if you followed the tip in one of my previous videos, defiant engrams as well. In order to get these defiant engrams, just interact with the war table and reacquire last season's artifact. This will allow for you to get both deep and defiant engrams at the same time when completing activities. And if you want to be a little extra efficient, make sure to complete the Deep Challenger seasonal bonus each week for the ability to get double the engrams. Also, reaching rank 13 with the Sonar Station will unlock the Deep Attraction bonus, which will give another chance at even more bonus deep engrams as well. The only thing you absolutely need to have unlocked for this though is the Defiant or Deep Armorer focusing for each set of engrams respectively. From there, make sure you have your Armorer Ghost mod of choice equipped and grab some armor. You won't need to grab the class items as these don't have stats, and if you know you're going to be running a specific exotic, you can focus on the other 3 slots to focus your engrams into. Either way, these engrams will be raining down on you all season and have very consistent high total stats with some solid spikes as well, which you're going to want for your triple 100 builds. The next farm I want to talk about is something I mention quite often, but that's because I feel like people always sleep on just how good it is, and that is farming Pit of Heresy. This can only be done during Pit of Heresy featured weeks, which is actually this week, but is insanely fast runs and guarantees a double spike high stat armor every single time. This is the only place in the game that guarantees that every single armor piece that you get will have 2 stats with at least 16 plus total stat rolls. Once again, don't forget to have your Armorer Ghost mod equipped when doing this farm, as it's going to help you pick one of those 2 spiky stats that you get each time. The only downside of this farm compared to seasonal engrams is that you can't pick the slot that your armor actually goes into, but with the amount of very high stat armor this farm drops, and the guarantee for 2 16 plus spiky stats every time, it is well worth doing. And not only this, but you will additionally have the chance to get both deep and defiant engrams while farming, so it allows you to double if not triple dip on potential high stat legendary armor. And one last benefit of this farm is there's no level requirement here either, as it's a recommended power of 1600, so anyone's able to get in on this farm no matter their power level. Now let's talk about Artifice armor. This is a specific type of armor that gives +3 to the stat of your choice, and can be farmed from Master Ghosts of the Deep at any time, or the master versions of Grasp of Avarice, Duality, and Spire of the Watcher during their featured weeks respectively. Getting an Artifice class item is absolutely worth doing, as it's almost always just a straight up better armor piece than a non-Artifice piece, and the positive is it is a get one and you're done forever situation. Outside of that, I do feel like Artifice armor is a bit overrated and overhyped due to how much harder it can be to acquire compared to these other farms, along with Artifice armor in general just not seeming to drop with as high of stats as these other farms do. Ever since the change to Artifice armor, they're just pure stat sticks, so a very good non-Artifice piece is going to still be better than just an average Artifice piece. The biggest positive of Artifice armor though ends up being in its ability to pick a stat to put +3 into, which can definitely help you get to that next tier in a specific stat, and can be very beneficial due to Destiny's stat system, where only reaching the next tier matters and all other stats are wasted. Overall, if you like the challenge of Master Dungeons and have a team to roll with, it definitely has the highest min-max potential in the game, no doubt. But I wouldn't let it be something that you feel like you must do in order to have high quality builds, or to complete other activities in the game that you may enjoy more. Now let's talk about high stat exotic farming. Exotics have been changed pretty drastically with the release of Season of the Deep, with a pass on the overall stat quality on all exotics, as well as more ways to acquire and even focus them. Our first new exotic farm for this season is through the new fishing activity. When fishing, you have a random chance to get either legendary or exotic fish, with higher chances for better fish when fishing with more people, and quickly progressing the fishing focus bar. You can then take your fish to the helm to turn in, with exotic fish guaranteeing an exotic when turned in, while legendary fish will also have a small chance to give exotic armor as well. Lost sectors are still available for exotic farming and are just as good as always, if not a bit better due to the overall exotic armor pass. As I've mentioned in a few previous videos, if you want to get the best bang for your buck time-wise, I would recommend waiting for some of these shorter lost sectors, such as the ones in the EDZ or Cosmodrome, as lost sectors have drastically different lengths and have no difference in drop rate running one instead of another. The Vex Strike Force activity was added in Lightfall and now has a much higher spawn rate than it did when it first came out, and can also give any exotic armor piece, including new ones. Do note though that as of the making of this video, you're not able to acquire the most current season exotics from this activity, but this is supposed to be a known issue that Bungie is looking into. The Vex Strike Force and Lost Sectors are the only ways to get a large portion of exotic armors that exist for your first time, but after you've acquired them once, they can be reacquired or focused through the next few activities we're going to talk about. New for this season, we have exotic focusing at Rahul, along with guaranteed exotic engrams from completing Strikes, Gambit, and Crucible weekly challenges. This allows for you to get 3 guaranteed exotics each week per character, for a total of up to 9 guaranteed weekly exotics total. Exotic engrams can also drop randomly from defeating enemies in the world, and taking any of these exotic engrams to Rahul, you'll have a number of options. Do note you will have to have had unlocked this armor previously in order to use any of these methods of decryption. Your first option is just to decrypt an engram as normal. This will give you a random exotic with pretty much no specific limitations or any specific ones that you're going to get. Your second option is actually not currently available as there was a bug with it, but it hopefully should be fixed soon. But basically you can pick either a specific release or expansion, whatever you want to consider it, and it's going to cost you an exotic engram. You have to get that first, 1 Ascendant Shard and 30,000 Glimmer, and you can kind of narrow down the exotics that you're going to get. And your final option is in the focus decoding. This is going to allow you to get any exotic of your choice, as long as you've already have it unlocked. It's going to be very expensive. Again, you're going to still obviously need the engram first, the exotic engram first. 60,000 Glimmer, 3 Ascendant Shards, and an exotic cipher. Honestly, the exotic cipher is the really tricky part in terms of just how often you can get them, but this will get you and allow you to get any exotic that you may want. Again, do note that you do need to have unlocked the exotic first in order to be able to acquire it. Nightfalls, especially higher level ones, are another great way to farm exotics. Once again, this is actually going to be an even better farm than in previous seasons due to the new focusing mechanic, allowing you to have some say in the type of specific exotic armor pieces that you're getting. Grandmaster Nightfalls are releasing early this season in week 4, which is next week as of the making of this video at least, which along with the lack of power level increase this season means that we'll have a much easier time and much more time to farm out GMs to get these exotics, along with Nightfall weapons and other endgame loot. Also make sure to be on the lookout for double Nightfall Rewards Week, which usually happens once or maybe twice during a season, as this will allow for you to get double the loot drops, which again will be especially lucrative on the highest level Nightfalls, and even more so if it happens to fall on one of the shorter length Nightfall weeks. Let's take a minute to talk about an incredibly useful third-party tool, D2 Armor Picker. Some of you may already use this tool, but if not, it basically allows you to choose certain stat distributions that you want, along with an exotic of your choice, and then comes back and gives you all the possible ways that you can reach those stats with the armor that you have on your account. This tool is incredibly useful rather than having to guess and check it all yourself, and can be set to work with certain fragments that affect your stats, along with stat mods, and even artifice armor. And that's all for today. I hope this updated guide to armor farming, both for legendaries and exotics in Season of the Deep, was helpful. And as always, thank you so much for watching, and have a wonderful day.